Gennady Golovkin fights Sergey Derevyanchenko 2.5 years after he was supposed to originate. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Rem Star Says So. Let's get right into this one, guys. It's been a while since I made my last video. Sorry about that. I've been a little bit preoccupied. Seem to say the same thing all the time. You guys must think I'm full of shit, but that's literally what my life has become. Just a very busy bee most of the time. Yeah. So Gennady Golovkin, he's fighting Sergey Derevyanchenko for the vacant IBF and vacant IBO middleweight titles. This fight is a fight that was supposed to have happened about 2.5 years ago. If you cast your mind back, Gennady Golovkin, he was being an absolute little bitch, coattailing Canelo Alvarez and hanging off his nuts. What happened was he was supposed to fight Derevyanchenko, who was the IBF mandatory, but Golovkin told the IBF he was planning to fight Canelo Alvarez in the rematch. If you guys remember, Canelo popped dirty at the time, and the IBF allowed Golovkin to go and fight Vanis Manarosyan on May 5th, I think it was 2018, instead of Derevyanchenko. I think the reason why the IBF allowed that is because Vanis Manarosyan, I believe, is of some sort of possibly Latino descent or something like that. I'm not actually sure. As you know, it says Armenian. No, Golovkin just didn't want any of that smoke. So the IBF allowed Golovkin to fight Vanis Manarosyan instead of his mandatory, on the basis that he would have fought Derevyanchenko next. What happened was, after the Manarosyan fight, Golovkin stepped back in the ring 6 months later and lost his WBA, WBC, and IBO titles to Canelo Alvarez, who managed to beat him by majority decision in a fight that a lot of people thought Golovkin was sort of hard done by. If you cast your mind back to the Golovkin fights, me personally, I think that Golovkin beat Canelo the first time, and I also think that the second time it was a draw, at least. Yeah, I think the first fight I had Golovkin winning that by maybe about 3 rounds, and the second fight I thought it was a draw, but I might have edged it to Golovkin as well. I just don't think that Canelo Alvarez should have won those middleweight titles, but Golovkin, he was a fool anyway. Golovkin was literally 36 minutes away from greatness, 36 minutes away from joining the elite, becoming a 4-belt undisputed middleweight champion. He had the opportunity to go and fight Billy Joe Saunders, but what did he do? He sold himself out for money. That led him to being stripped of the IBF belt and going on to lose a controversial fight against Canelo Alvarez, who has reigned supreme as the #1 middleweight in the division since. Golovkin is trying to come back, and he really wants that Canelo third fight. And I think Golden Boy are saying to him, go and pick up a belt first. So what has happened? Right now, you've got Canelo Alvarez, who is the middleweight champion, and I think he holds 2 belts. I know the WBC stripped him of one of his titles, and I think he holds the WBA. So what does Canelo actually have left? I actually don't know. So he's got the WBA Super, he's got the WBC, he's got the WBC Diamond or Super Franchise Championship. So yeah, like the middleweight championships have been sort of fragmented. Anyway, I'm digressing. Let me get back to the point. As I said, Golovkin was 36 minutes away from becoming a 4-belt undisputed champion, the first of his time. I don't think there's ever been a guy who's held the WBA Super, the WBC, the IBF, and the WBO at middleweight at the same time, and Golovkin had 3 of those belts. Billy Joe Saunders was there waiting in the wings, and Golovkin refused to fight him. Instead of that, he ran to Canelo like a little money-hungry bitch, and he was just basically selling himself out for the peas. All he wanted was the money. he didn't really give a shit about anything else apart from fighting Canelo. He ended up getting stripped of his belt, and then he ended up losing to Canelo. Now he's fighting Derevyanchenko. Derevyanchenko is the guy who did fight Danny Jacobs for that vacant IBF title a couple of years back. And what happened was he ended up going on to lose to Danny Jacobs, the only loss of his career. Now, my analysis for this fight is that Golovkin needs to knock Derevyanchenko out, and he needs to do it in stunning fashion. If Derevyanchenko loses this fight, then I think he's just fucked. I mean, this is his second title shot in the space of about, in a year. I don't actually understand how he's fighting for this belt. Again, he lost the vacant IBF championship to Danny Jacobs. He fought for the vacant title against Danny Jacobs on the 27th of October 2018. And then since then, he beat Jack Kulki, and now he's getting back in the ring to fight for the IBF title again on the 5th of October 2019. How on earth this guy is being sanctioned for two IBF fights, for two vacant IBF fights in the space of a year, only God knows. That just shows you the presence and the power of the Zone, Matchroom, and Golovka, or whatever, Tom Loeffler, Golovkin's other promoter, and whoever promotes Derevyanchenko, because Derevyanchenko has done nothing to deserve this. When he stepped in the ring against Danny Jacobs, that was only his 13th fight. How on earth are you fighting for a vacant belt in your 13th fight when you fought absolute nobodies? But money talks, and money and power talks. So let me get back onto this one. I think Golovkin needs to go out there and he needs to make a statement. He needs to knock this guy senseless in the space of, no, it can't go past 9 rounds. If this fight goes to the final quarter of this match, Golovkin, he's done something wrong. He's done something wrong. I don't care what anybody says. If this fight goes to the final quarter of this fight, Golovkin is finished. I mean, if he really wants this Canelo fight, he's got to make himself look good. He needs to send a statement. We already know that Canelo's going up to 175, and then he'll probably campaign at 168 and try and pick up a legitimate championship. That gives Golovkin 12 months to fight some credible opposition and get his name back out there. If he can do that, and if he does that successfully, he might get the Canelo fight. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think Derevyanchenko has a hope in hell in this one. I mean, he lost the split decision to Danny Jacobs. But let's be honest, Danny Jacobs is no Gennady Golovkin. He might be bigger than him, but he definitely isn't better than him. I mean, I think Golovkin's got to knock him out. He's got to go in there and he's just got to show that old dog Golovkin and just do what he needs to do. He needs to go in there and he just needs to hammer him from start till end. That's what he needs to do. My prediction is a Golovkin knockout within 9 rounds. If this fight goes any further than 9, fuck Golovkin and fuck the rematch, fuck the third fight, fuck the trilogy, because you ain't beating Canelo. I mean, the fact is, Golovkin, I know he's got guaranteed money at the Zone, but I'm going to assume that if he fights Canelo, he might get a bit more. The fact is that Golovkin fighting Canelo is a complete waste of time, in my opinion. The reason why I say this is because Golovkin doesn't have the power to knock Canelo out, and he's never going to get a decision on the cards. If I was Golovkin, I'd go up to 168, but he definitely doesn't want any of that work. What's he going to do? Is he going to fight Callum Smith? I don't think so. I mean, maybe he fights Billy Joe Saunders at 168, or maybe he wins his belt and Billy Joe Saunders comes back down. That could be a big money fight, and I'm sure Fast Car Eddie Hearn would love to stick that on pay-per-view as well. I was meant to make a video, but as I said, I've just been really busy over the last couple of months. Golovkin has recently signed a co-promotional deal with Matchroom Boxing, so I'm sure Eddie Hearn would love to take Golovkin back to the UK again, stick him on pay-per-view and fight him against Billy Joe Saunders. And that would be a fight that I'd actually really like to see, but Golovkin's got to deliver first. He can't just win this belt tonight. He's got to do it in great fashion. So, yeah, that's my thoughts, guys. What do you think? Leave me a comment. Do you think Golovkin can knock him out? Do you think Derevyanchenko has any sort of chance? Hit like, hit subscribe. That's the end of the show because Ramstar says so.